What's happening, audience? Hope you're doing good. I want to record another one. Okay. And in this video, I want to talk about the key. I want to talk about the key to everything. There's not a lot to talk about, and yet I'm going to be talking about it. Okay. Because if um, if it clicks, if you get what it is, then you can never lose it. Even if you are, you know, lost in a hive mind, right? And you can see that you're lost. You're still gonna have that key. You're still gonna have that key. At any point, it can take you out of it. Um, and like if you get this key, there's nothing else that you need. I talked in the previous video about it, but that's the first thing that we have to understand. Because this is the first thing that we have to understand, because it's the basis of everything, and that's where everything starts. Any kind of change starts with this. The real change, I mean, not just the form, but the quality, the feelings, everything, what you're actually looking for. Okay. And so there's a lot of people, they're looking for answers in life and all that stuff. It can be distraction, because this is so simple, and if you use it, you don't need anything else, because the answers come to you. And the thing is that you're not looking for the answers, because they're always there at the moment when you need them. So you're not accumulating anything inside of you and thinking like, oh, I have to have all this stuff inside of me, otherwise I cannot function, whatever. That disappears. That seeking thing disappears. What the accumulation becomes not about existence and how I navigate the world and all that stuff. It just becomes about learning skills and stuff like that. And that is such a obvious thing to do that you don't even have to worry about it, right? So, as I tried to explain in the previous video, this little concept that is so simple, yet, look, I tell you what I'm talking about, the key is, and you obviously may have seen in lots of different ancient drawings, and it's such a simple thing. It's a point and a circle. It's point and a circle. And you can call it the attention. The point, you can call it attention or awareness or power. And a circle, you can call it awareness, compassion, or surrender, right? Those two primordial yin and yang capacities that you have. Now, as you can see, it can't do anything except point, right? Because there's a circle. A circle can point. And then what the eye can do, it can look at something, right? Focus on something and be aware of everything else that is out there. There's two things, right? If you're aware of everything that's going on right now, there's a certain type of openness that happens. And like you're not doing anything, you're just almost like silent, still, right? And you have that capacity to go to that 0 point anytime you want. But there's also not that 0 point, not just that 0 point, there's also point. And the way you use it, and some books explain it very well, and some are just misunderstandings. And and all sorts of methods and systems, and it's like, oh, this is how you meditate. You got to focus on your third eye and all that shit. No, no, that's not it. That's not it. The only thing that you have uh, as your capacity is that point and that circle. You can point, you can focus on something, and surrender as another word, or have stillness and compassion about it. That's what Krishnamurti was talking about. This is what everybody's talking about. They're talking about the symbol of point in a circle where everything starts. Also, sometimes people call the seed of life, and they already have these, 7 circles. That's not the seed of life. That's already a differentiation towards. I used to call it germ of life, but it's not correct. It's more like an embryo of life. You see, the germ and the seed is this thing that I'm talking about, right? It's that point in a circle. Before anything happens, point in a circle is, and you still have that capacity. That point is still true power, and that circle is still true compassion. So at any point in life, what you do with this is this. The point is you point your attention to the most uncomfortable point in your body or your awareness, all of it, like, it doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter what you feel, but you can move your attention there, right? And then you can move it, you like to move it and then move it to more centered, so you can find it. Oh, it's kind of vague over here, but you focus there, and you focus and you focus and you focus until it becomes just one point, right? That discomfort. But you're not just pointing there, you're pointing there, but also you're bringing that 0 point, which is you're pointing there, and let that 0 point do what it does. You're like eating the old patterns. And you may feel some heat, like I said in the previous video, emanating from there, but you're eating it, okay? Now, you just have to trust. By the way, the word faith is that circle and that attention as well. Excuse me, not circle, point, that faith. And you let that circle, that stillness, do its thing. It's like holding on to that most uncomfortable feeling that you have in your system and surrendering at the same time. You surrender, but you don't let go of that point that is uncomfortable. And that surrender starts eating that away. That's the way I would describe it, right? I'm just using words to describe it. But anybody with that capacity to move their attention on the feelings, okay, because I'm talking about feelings here. If you can focus on your feelings and you can find the most uncomfortable feeling at any point in time, then that's it. If you hold your attention there completely and totally, and you bring awareness, which is you don't fight it, you hold it and you surrender it to that 0 point. It's a little bit like, when you zooming in on the screen, on the touch screen of the phone, you point, right? And then you do this, you point, and then you do this zoom out, right? Boom, and you keep on zooming it like that. It's a little bit like that. You point and you zoom, but it's less complicated. Because stillness and this awareness of everything, it doesn't do anything. So you can control it. You can just let it take that thing that you are focusing on. Does that make sense? um but I have to say that there is, like, just like, for example, I said, like how using your eyes. That's a good analogy, because this eye works like that. You can just put your attention somewhere, right? That's your attention. I put attention here, and at the same time, now as I'm putting attention there, I can see all my peripherals and surroundings at the same time. So I'm sort of like in between what I'm putting attention and aware of my surroundings. And you get that liminal zone where that whatever I put my attention on is not uncomfortable anymore, because 0 point comes in and it does its thing. Okay, so honestly, like, if you get this, you don't need anything else, because then everything else will come to you. Okay, but so that pretty much ends the spirituality and ends all the religions. It's as simple as that. Okay, this is where all religions end. This is why I always say that religion is a personal thing. No one can do this for you. No one can, you know what I'm trying to say? No one can do this for you. It's yours. So that's why it's solo game. It's not a group game. That's why when anybody's congregating together and gathering over this idea of spirituality, is a sect. All of those religions, they never do anything good. If you're gathering and you're gathering to celebrate, if you're gathering to have fun, you have to gathering to, sing, dance, and just have fun, then that's that's the reason to gather around, but not for other means. Okay, so this point in the circle ends all these arguments of the complexity of spirituality, because there is nothing after that. Okay, because when you do this, when you're putting your attention and awareness, and that is a specific voluntary act that you can do, you are going to be realizing that you find everything that your soul desires right behind that thing that is uncomfortable. Again, so to speak, I'm just using words to describe this process, but I think it can be communicated like that, with that point in the circle, because anybody can understand. Anybody can put attention on their feeling, and I suppose anybody can just surrender to everything else. It's like in between. You find that liminal zone where it's delicious. Okay, and the thing that you were running away from was the thing that actually you were looking for, right? So there's this direction of life. If you there you go. So there's only two directions. You either move away from that thing that is uncomfortable and look for ways to pacify it, manifest something, it's like, oh, I need this, I need that, and that's also still the same thing, right? Or you go there. Okay, and hopefully what I've noticed is that if you, because even though that idea of pointing towards your feelings and seeing that stillness brings you to the state of consciousness that is like peaceful and blissful, and you don't need anything from there, in terms of pacifying your feelings, you don't need to pacify your feelings anymore. But what happens there is that you become real you, who you truly are, because the character that you played before you were going that direction, it was all masks and all bullshit and no circus clown show. Okay, then you discover your real you, and your real you may not like the same things or do the same things as before, but yet you do things and you like things, but it's you real you now, right? And also I have to say that sometimes when you're pointing yourself there, what happens is that even though the state is infinite, right? You are not waiting for the next thing because you find everything right here, right now. You're not waiting for the next thing anymore. You're not looking at the past anymore. There's no thoughts. It's just this peace and bliss that's running through your system. And it can be subtle, and it can be intense. Like I said, it can be more of the peace, more of the bliss. You see, um, it does what it does, but you're not seeking for the bliss, and you're not seeking for the peace. And every time you approach it, in any time, any space time you approach it, it's always unique and different. This is why you cannot methodologize it. You cannot create a system, you cannot create a method, because then you go into the mind and the brain again. As complex as it gets, the point and a circle. And if you stay with the point and the circle and don't deviate from it, and say, if you have any kind of emotional issue in your life, you say, all right, point and a circle. So I'm going to find that feeling that is uncomfortable. I'm going to put all my attention there, and I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm going to let that stillness do it, whatever it's doing. And as it's doing this thing, like, I'm not seeking it, it just happens. And sometimes I could feel something that's between the peace and the bliss. That's why I describe it, right? But it's a state of infinity. It's not temporal. That's where you take yourself first from that uncomfortable feeling. It's starting to eat these old patterns, right? And another thing I want to say about this, it's eating old patterns, but at first, just like with anything, even though it's infinite, to put attention and awareness there and have a habit to hold it there may take time. Okay? This is why it's a bit of a paradox, because if someone says, like, yes, when you put some attention there and awareness, boom, there's nothing else to do. There's no next, nothing. There's no thought, nothing. It's just you sink into this infinite state, and everything's delicious and peaceful and safe, and it's awesome, right? Infinite state. Yet somebody may try to do, something happens, whatever, you get distracted, and then you suddenly move away from that thing that is uncomfortable and looking for the ways to pacify. And you may get distracted again, and you may find yourself like, oh, what the fuck happened? I went in the opposite direction. Yeah, exactly. There's a karmic, dharmic direction, or a karmic direction. If you go this direction that I'm describing to you, on a feeling and emotional level, you're going in a dharmic direction. You see, people talking about, like, oh, I don't want to build that karma for do this or do that. No, look, there's only two actions, and then one is like motive based, another one is inspiration based. And inspiration is the word that used to describe, spirit is running your life. Okay, so it takes time, but if you do it, eventually it becomes like automatic, and then that feeling, that blissful and peaceful feeling, becomes like a part of you, and you don't no longer need to put attention there, because it's almost like it's happening automatically, right? And they say that it takes 100 days, but don't stick with the days or whatever. But I'm saying that it is true that at first you gotta do it almost like a, remember, point, circle, bow, do it, 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 do it. Okay, and eventually it becomes automatic, and you just always transmute these old patterns into the bliss and peace. That's the key. If you get this, like, really, there's nothing else. Well, actually, there is something else, but you gotta get this first for to understand something else. And that something else is because this white light, it's this white light, this point is a power, it's a divine spark, and that void, that blackness, that surrender, that emptiness is compassion and power. That's the words I use first, and then they split into the colors. And so when you alchemize something, you may start feeling like all these other feelings, that they're colorful and they're playful and they're like melodies in your system. And this goes into uh, what you call theurgy. And it's like almost nobody understands theurgy, because you can't understand theurgy until you become like alchemist. But it's not even, you don't want to be alchemist either, because you want to be alchemist at to the point where everything happens automatically to you, and it just is what is, right? You don't want this to become like perpetual game that it never ends. You got to get to the point where it happens automatically, and it's just you, and it's just natural you. There's no deliberate alchemy that's necessary after that. But after that, you may want to play with creation, which is theurgy, and that is those primordial feelings that are blissful. Those colors, those 7 colors, right? Those are primordial feelings, and they have a taste of bliss, right? Or like a version of bliss, those 7 ones, right? And then you play with all these colors, and then you mix and match them, and you create these new feelings and then as you can see, it can go into like almost infinite, a plethora of feelings that you may want to create. And then it's like a soul music that you're playing, or dance, if you will, with those feelings. And then you can really play. Then you can move to any kind of feeling you want. And to make it easier, I'm trying to like narrow it down, and maybe I'll make another video about this. But they go into more like, as I've discovered, like 42 and 24 on an embryo level. Those are 24 feminine and 42 masculine feelings, and a mix of those. And then you go into the flower of life level. That's 90 masculine, 54 feminine. Okay, and at the center, before it goes into the embryo, there's 12 and 12. That's infinity. So that's it for today. If you get that point in the circle, then there's not a lot to talk about spirituality. And then it becomes about learning how consciousness work, and it becomes about how to create things and how to play, and then you can actually get to the creation and play after you go through that um, eye of the needle, as someone said in the past. And that's what the eye of the needle is. Okay, and there you go. Look, and now I'm going to ask you, like, how many people are living life in this direction? And it's not difficult. It's like, you don't if you start living life in this direction, in that moment, you are the awesomest person, ever. You are real you. It's actually you, and you're gonna find out what you really are. Maybe you're like a musician or artist or whatever. Whatever that may be, it's real you, and that's gonna be the happiest version of you. Okay. And everybody else who's going another direction, they're clowning around and they're playing the role that is not them. uh, and it becomes very difficult to be with these fake people around. Okay. Because I mean, you're transparent and honest, and you speak the truth, and you're just about creating something and playing around, and uh, they can't be in that uh, ambient, you know. But then you meet other real people too. Okay, so that's it for this particular video. um, Hope you liked it. Keep it simple, and I'll see you next one. Peace.